And out from that building, let's bring in the starters, being brought to you by your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Dean Vickerman, the head coach of Melbourne United, starting DJ Kennedy, David Barlow, Alex Pledger, Chris Goulding, and the former Sixer Casper Ware. For Brett Brown, Dario Saric, Robert Covington, Joel Embiid, Markelle Fultz, the starter at the 2 spot. JJ Redick coming off the bench, and of course Ben Simmons will be the other guard. We welcome you to Wells Fargo Center. First of 4 preseason games for the Sixers. They'll be back here Monday to take on Orlando. Don't miss the game. Take it with you. Your team's on the go with NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com and the NBC Sports app. Brett Brown, his team, winning 52 a year ago. Good enough for the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. First playoff experience for Joel Embiid, mask and all, as we bring you the keys to the game, being brought to you by Kia.
Well, since it's the first night and you're playing against an unknown opponent, make sure you get off to a good start, not individually, but think about the other 4 guys around you at any given time. Share the basketball as well. There are other guys still trying to make this team and get themselves in their rotation.
This opponent, by the way, no ordinary opponent. They are the defending champions in Australia's National Basketball League. And of course, a lot of connections. We mentioned Ware. Dean Vickerman, the head coach of this Melbourne squad, once played for Brett Brown. Serena Winters will have more on that as we go. Sixers right now healthy and ready to go in this one.
First game of this tour for the Melbourne United team. Off to New York after this, and then Toronto.
And it will belong to the visitors as we are running tonight in this preseason game from Wells Fargo Center. The 22 hours of flight time to get from there to here for Melbourne United.
Have you ever made that flight?
No.
It's not short.
I've flown to China. That's where the Sixers will be in about a week or so. Ben Simmons, Brett Brown saying before the game he wants him to be on one of the all-defensive teams by the time the season ends. And the Sixers teeing it up here on the first possession.
Well, the first criteria is for the player to embrace that end of the floor. Ben certainly embracing it and trying to get better. You can see him there with the early enthusiasm in a preseason game.
Where it is for 3, and the shot clock expiring. A few rule changes this year for the NBA, which we will go over. One includes, if you get an offensive rebound, the shot clock recycles to 14 and not 24. And I mention it because they should change the rule there, and I talk about it every year, where if you come up with a defensive rebound after a shot clock violation, you should be able to fast break the other way. But we have a whistle here, as the fans really into the fact that Markelle Fultz is handling the ball.
Well, listen, here's a guy that right now the fan base is looking for any signs of positivity, a little swagger in his game. Let's not worry about the jump shot and where he gets it from right now. I'm more worried about his attitude and how he's going to approach the game on both ends of the floor. Is he going to be cocky, confident? That's what we're looking for.
And I think he is.
Yeah.
By the way, number 43, Chris Goulding, probably their best player and would be leading scorer. They're going to be starting their season shortly in Australia. They play in the Australian summer. As a nice look there, and fans saying right off the bat, Simmons, Fultz, will they work together? They certainly did right there.
You can see them looking for one another. The nicest thing I like about that is you're moving without the basketball. Instead of watching the guy with the ball, you're making yourself available. Tough to cover.
As is that guy, Simmons, 6'10", 230, now his 2nd year after being named the NBA's Rookie of the Year last year.
You mentioned Goulding a little earlier. He's spent a little bit of time with the Cavaliers in their summer league teams, so he knows what it's like to be vying for a spot here on an NBA roster. Never made it to fall camp, though.
Well, he was in charge of Simmons that time, and Ben just made mincemeat out of him.
Good point guards give you that little hesitation dribble, lull you to sleep, and then blow right by you. Ben's an exceptional point guard. Here's again the high-low. Robert to Ben. Nice pass to Markelle, moving along the baseline, and then here's the nice little breakdown. Little pitter-pat crossover right to the bucket for the easy 2.
I always say if you have two players who are good and unselfish, they should have no problem playing with one another.
No, space the floor.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Sixers are really smothering Melbourne here early.
Advantages in height and physicality in almost every position.
By that time, Ware fell down, and Fultz was able to have his way inside. And Dean Vickerman, the head coach of this Melbourne United team, calling a timeout. Just 2:04 into this first quarter. The Sixers on top early on. Preseason game number 1. There are lots of moving parts for the 76ers in the preseason. Plenty of storylines, really too many to count. Keep track of all the Sixer moves now and all season long with our panel of experts, esteemed they are, on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com, home of the Sixers' authentic fan. Sixers with the early advantage. Ben Simmons very much involved early on.
Well, again, being aggressive, changing ends, but here it is on the defensive end. The long arm of the law causing fits for the offensive player, and then down the other end taking advantage of the little opportunity, the path to the basket, and here the little lull, asleep, hesitation dribble right to the basket. Easy 2 for 2-5.
Fultz starting, and he takes the smaller players, you might imagine, and Casper Ware on the defensive end. That's the starting center, the tallest player in the NBL, Australia's professional league right now, Alex Pledger at 7'1", 250. And of course, on the other end, he's got to deal with number 21, Joel Embiid, and here they go. And it will belong to the Sixers.
Joel with the nice soft touch on that fadeaway, just unable to convert it. But you can see he's basically getting whatever he wants against Pledger in the post.
Low here. Get your front him, wide him.
Expect to see a lot more of this year.
Absolutely.
Ben in the post taking advantage of that size.
Embiid keeps it alive. Fultz has got a remarkable handle, able to finish with the left hand. Beautifully done by Markelle Fultz once again getting the start. And here's Simmons coming up with a turnover.
A great
Look at that. Look at that. Oh, what a play by Simmons. I didn't think I'd get that excited in a preseason game. I think more players, by the way, should do that. Bang it off the backboard, keep it alive.
That's pretty clever, Big Ben. I like it. Listen, you've got the advantage, too. There was 2 offensive players to 1 there. Threw it off the board, and you can see the defender didn't know what to do.
Again, you could do that. You could pass it to yourself off the backboard.
Most certainly can. You can pass it off of another player if you're so bold. But, yes, the backboard's readily available. Take a look at this again. Good instincts. See right there, no one's playing him. Well, let me free up this opportunity for myself. Gets it back off the board. Finds a streaky Markelle along the baseline. That's just smart basketball. Making something out of nothing.
Yeah, and typically, how often do you see that? Yeah. But I think when guys do that, they'll typically take it and probably what? Go up for a shot themselves, not pass it.
Finish it themselves. Is that bully ball 1.0 right there, or 101 level?
Expect more of that this year?
I think so. When you talk to Brett Brown and the coaching staff and Joel himself, I think not that he was settling before. I think now what he's trying to do is become a tough cover, a tough card, a tough out each and every time down the floor.
Ben Simmons piling up the assists early on. Led the team last year, averaging over 8 per game.
His defense tonight has been on.
Yep. He is taking to heart what Brett Brown said before the game, and we'll repeat it every so often during the season. The coach saying he would like to see Simmons on an all-defensive team by year's end, and if he continues to play like this against NBA competition, he'll be there.
You can see that play from the other end of the floor. Like broke.
Joel Embiid, who would like to be Defensive Player of the Year. He switches out on the smaller Ware, and that is not an easy thing to do. Ware has a lot of quicks. You might recall he signed a couple of 10 days during Brett Brown's first year, actually. That was back in 2013-14 with the Long Beach State. It was is his only NBA experience. Casper Ware. Dario Saric making his way on David Barlow. Dario came off the bench the first 5 games last year, became a starter, and figured out how to be effective with the starting lineup.
Right, look at that. Nice recovery. Joel covering a lot of ground.
May have gotten away with a foul there as well as he bumped Alex Pledger. Covington with a rather healthy 3. And that's going to be a foul. Simmons hanging around in the backcourt.
Good example of patrolling and controlling. There's Joel coming over late, but coming over in enough time to get a piece of that.
J.J. Redick coming off the bench, and right now they're in the experimental stage with this. Brett Brown saying before the game he'd like to try it on. He'd like to try it now as opposed to during the regular season and see how it works. And he said Redick was very professional about the whole thing. What are the advantages of J.J. Redick coming off the bench? Should they stay with this during the season?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is it solidifies your second unit as far as scoring is concerned. And when you look at what you have in that second unit, gone are Marco Bellinelli, gone are Ersan Ilyasova. Now you've got bigs in Chandler, Wilson Chandler, and Mike Muscala. You need a perimeter shooter in that second unit. So I understand Brett Brown's thinking behind that. Credit to JJ for being able to roll with the punches.
It'll be a palming violation on Ware. Indeed, the Sixers losing Ilyasova. He's a free agent. He signed with Milwaukee. Marco Bellinelli also a free agent signed with San Antonio. Rashawn Holmes was traded to Phoenix. Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot and Justin Anderson went to Oklahoma City and Atlanta respectively. The deal that netted Mike Muscala. Expect to see him on the floor. We do see Amir Johnson for the first time. He was back once again after signing a one-year deal last year. Did the same this season.
Well, that's something that we haven't seen a lot of, Mark, the last 3 years from 3-3. That man on your screen penetrating and getting to the rim. When you talk to him or some of the coaches, that's been a point of emphasis coming into this year.
76ers host the Orlando Magic in a preseason matchup this coming Monday. And remember, for ticket information, go to StubHub.com. Then the Sixers venture to China for a pair of preseason games against the Dallas Mavericks Friday the 5th, Monday the 8th. And both games will be available on NBA TV. Of course, the Sixers start the regular season against a team they ended the season in the same venue, as a matter of fact, the Boston Celtics at TD Garden. That'll be on October 16th. And then the home opener will be against Chicago. As we have an issue here, and the head athletic trainer, Kevin Johnson, is off the bench. Looks like some housework on the hardwood in front of the Sixer bench. In the meantime, look at the training camp roster. And the Sixers with 15 guaranteed, so unless something drastic happens. Ravel Pell.
I've played on team with a maximum number of guaranteed contracts, and then all of a sudden you're led to think, well, there's not going to be any movement here. Nobody's going to crack this lineup. Each one of those situations I found myself in, it had nothing to do with me. Something unexpected happened, and a guaranteed contract got eaten up, and they brought in a new guy. First opportunity, first chance I'm thinking of is Robert Pack. Robert Pack replaced the great Walter Davis in Portland back in 1992. Walter was my teammate, had a guaranteed contract. Pack came out of SC, and nobody took his spot and took his contract.
Interesting.
So, yeah, don't sleep on when you say, and I know that's not what you were saying. I'm talking to our viewers. 15 guaranteed doesn't mean that you're going to see 15 of these same players opening night.
Bench players now in there for Melbourne. Catch up with those changes as it becomes necessary. Simmons, beautiful wraparound to Amir Johnson. Ben Simmons has been remarkable as a setup guy here in the first quarter.
Foul on Barlow, who's just rotating too late. You can't do much when Ben gets the ball that deep into the post, into the painted area. See, his head is up looking for a passer, finds Amir. Barlow late. Amir going for the old-fashioned three-point play.
Ben Simmons, I think, just so much more relaxed just in speaking with him, looking at his demeanor on the court. And why not? He played 81 games last year, was Rookie of the Year. averaged a triple-double over the last quarter of the season. I mean, there's a lot for him to be confident about heading into year 2.
No question about it. And I can't express this enough. The amount of confidence you feel coming back after your first year, and especially the kind of first year that he had. There's a lot more to be confident about. I think Ben right now, I'm not looking for a sophomore jinx. Boom.
He heard us talking about him.
On cue. We appreciate it, don't we? I'll tell you what, Melbourne United better do something about that penetration, because this is getting ugly quick. I knew Ben was going to be ready to play. This is his hometown team.
Yep.
Right?
David Barlow, he's 35 years old. Very good shooter, right?
Yeah, very good shooter. A little methodical in his release, but if you give him space and room right there, you got it off, and he's money for the most part.
Barlow playing under Brett Brown in 2012, the London Olympics. Back in 2016, Australia nearly won a medal in basketball as that pass is intercepted. It's going to be a foul on Amir Johnson. DJ Kennedy once had a cup of coffee with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Will help himself to 2.
That was a nice move by DJ, going right down Broad Street. You can see him absorbing the contact. Amir doing all he can to keep his arms outstretched, strong enough to absorb that contact and get it up.
Kennedy, well traveled. Basketball in Germany, Russia, Turkey, China. It's not unusual for Americans to play in a lot of different countries, like the man sitting to my right, Ala Abdunabi, played in Turkey, France.
They're going to keep calling you and get to suspend adulthood in real life for one more year as JJ knocks down another one. Why would you say no, right?
You ever have an offer to play in Australia?
No, I did not.
Have you ever been?
Oh, I have covered the Olympics in 2000. I remember that was the time of the torpedo, right? Ian Thorpe, the swimmer. Australian legend.
Goulding able to deliver 2. He led the NBL in scoring last year, averaging about 23 a game. Redick getting a look, hits for 3, and J.J. Redick, whether starting or coming off the bench, still the same guy.
Well, and he knows he's going to get his minutes and he's going to get his looks. His importance has not diminished one bit with this team as he pushes off on J.J.
Yep, Chris Goulding, guy who pushed off Redick.
Take a look at J.J. moments ago. You can see the release, the quick release by J.J.
Timeout, just under 4 minutes to go here in the first, and the Sixers in command over the visitors from Australia, Melbourne United. Simmons taking a break. His Rookie of the Year numbers last year. Tweaked a few things on his shot, worked a great deal with his brother, built up his body. Donovan Mitchell, who campaigned for Rookie of the Year.
That's a good word.
Second.
That's a good word for it, too. He was lobbying, campaigning, getting T-shirts printed up. Adidas was playing along, too, and that man still won it.
Had 12 triple-doubles last year in his rookie season. Speaking about Simmons, only Oscar Robertson had more as an NBA rookie. He had 26. As mentioned, over about the last quarter of the season, averaged a triple-double. And the thing that I really like is over that same stretch, an assist-to-turnover ratio of just under 4-to-1. We often repeat that 3-to-1 is more than acceptable for a point guard.
Oh, my God. 3-to-1's great. 2-to-1 is acceptable. 3-to-1's otherworldly. 4-to-1, when you consider a guy who's going through the NBA schedule for the first time, just remarkable.
All right, a look at a couple of players now who are newcomers and expected to serve significant roles as bench players or perhaps spot starters. Veteran Wilson Chandler, number 22, and Joel Embiid is hacked and fouled, and he will go to the line for 2. Also introducing number 31, Mike Muscala, formerly of the Atlanta Hawks.
JoJo, next time, if he's ready for that pass, gets it, catches it, and finishes it quickly. I'm not sure he was anticipating the pass from Ben. If he wasn't, he should have been.
Second spot, bud. Log it. On the release, man.
Embiid is third year now, 7 feet, listed at 260.
See him miss 2 of them that often.
No, he's a very good free throw shooter with 77% the season last year.
We see that a lot, don't we? Sideline out of bounds, baseline out of bounds. Are they moving the sidelines on players? Like, there's a lot of unintentional out of bounds. That time, Muscala catching it, not knowing where he is, turnover.
Right.
How many times have we seen it down the other end when guys will just step out or go in the corner and try to put their feet between the line and the corner, and they wind up eventually stepping out of bounds?
Well, I'll say this, as Wilson Chandler has it blocked, and it ends up going out on him. I'm sure somebody in some analytics department is keeping track of that kind of stuff, and they know the trends, whether or not that's happening a lot or not, and if so, why?
Right. I just don't understand. We see that a lot more than we have in years past. And I know that the spacing, floor spacing, is part of it. You should be getting pretty good at it by now.
Redick. Rebound taken by Corey Jefferson, one-time NBA player, just signed by Melbourne. That's Muscala being pushed off by the aforementioned Corey Jefferson. Melbourne, we mentioned earlier, the defending champions of Australia's professional league, the NBL. They play in a 10,500 seat arena, the same arena that hosts the Australian Tennis Open. Dean Vickerman has a history with Brett Brown going back to 1990. That year, Brett Brown was an assistant, and he recruited both Vickerman and a guy by the name of Dave Simmons to play for the then Melbourne Tigers. This team was formerly known as the Tigers, had a name change a couple of years ago. And of course, Dave Simmons, you know,
whatever happened to him?
He had Ben, and now he's his biggest fan.
Right. Well, not to mention a stellar career down in Australia as well. It reminded me of one of the names that if you're an old basketball head like me, Andrew Gaze.
Yes.
One of the original stars, along with Dave Simmons, on that championship team back when it was called the Melbourne Tigers. Only been the Melbourne United for the last 4 or 5 years.
In fact, it was Andrew's father, Lindsey Gaze, who was responsible for making Brett Brown a head coach. Brett was literally backpacking through Australia, made a cold call to Lindsey Gaze, got himself a job, and moved up in the ranks, and the rest is history.
Andrew's son on that 1989 Seton Hall Final Four team got to the championship game.
Now, you know what I like about that play by Markelle Fultz, who now has full reign here with Simmons on the bench. Embiid worked hard, blocked the shot, ran the floor, rewarding the big guy.
And now look where he is at the foul line. Getting not only to relax, catch his breath, you get your opponent tacked on another foul, and then you shoot free throws, you shoot points, or you attempt points in the easiest possible manner. No defense.
High IQ stuff for Markelle Fultz. Embiid led the team in scoring and rebounding last year, averaging 23 and 11, also blocked shots, averaging nearly 2 per game.
Doing a great job fighting through that screen, Redick.
Fultz rewarding him. Muscala, and he could shoot from the outside. That's why the Sixers acquired him.
Can't stop you. Can't stop you.
No.
Trying.
Well, the guy guarding him, that's Daniel Trist. By the way, once played for Lafayette College. He's 6'7",
right,
and 245. It's not a good matchup.
That's apples and oranges.
No, that's a watermelon and a grape.
We wish him the best. And we're glad we're not him. That man on your screen's got to be feeling good about his game and prospects that this season holds for him.
Being healthy in the offseason, I mean, that's gigantic.
Well, and starting the preseason in a good position, as opposed to being behind the 8 ball last year, where he was trying to get back into shape, trying to shed some LBs, trying to get his timing back. He's had an active summer. His timing is there right now. He looks like a much fresher, more dangerous Joel Embiid.
Fultz finding himself open. That's going to be a loose ball foul. And it's going to be on Joel Embiid. Now let's bring in Serena Winters. Serena?
Hey guys, you know, Zoo, you were talking about that connection between Dean Vickerman and the coaching with Brett Brown, but it goes a lot farther than that. He actually used to play for Brett Brown when he was just 16 years old. Also, his assistant coach, he used to play for Brett Brown when he was 15 years old, Simon Mitchell. Gotta be fun looking down those sidelines.
Serena, I'll tell you what, it's a real coaching tree now that Brett Brown has, and he left quite a legacy after 17 years in Australia. So Embiid gets two inside.
And I think it's just another indication of how small the basketball world has become. You know, it used to be sort of like an outpost, so to speak. If you went to Australia, no one heard from you. But now that is not the case anymore. Guys like Kyrie and Ben are born there and come here to be stars.
Aaron Baines, don't forget, although he is technically from New Zealand, but I believe he claims Australia as his home. Dante Exum, who's coming into his own, along with Joe Ingles, both with the Utah Jazz. Matthew Dellavedova, who really embodies, I am told from other Australians, exactly right, the attitude that those guys play with.
Hard-nosed, grit. Nice give and go. Again, there's another one.
Yeah. Coming in from out of bounds.
Yeah. They're not moving the lines on the sideline, are they?
No, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've talked about this before. There's not much room where the arc straightens and goes along the sideline there. Well, you see a lot of out-of-bounds plays in that area.
And I think, again, a lot of it is because of the stretching of the defenses now. They need floor spacing. Guys have to run to each corner, and it's tough to tiptoe and operate sometimes in those tight spaces.
By the way, Brett Brown has made a decision as this first quarter is about to come to a close, painting big red squares in those corners, really valuing that corner three. We are through one preseason action. Second quarter's coming up. This basketball is being brought to you by Buick. Visit your Philadelphia Super Network Buick dealer. After one quarter, the Sixers lead Melbourne United by 13, 34-21. Second quarter underway, along with Serena Winters. Ala Abdelnaby. Mark Zumov here on NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus. Markelle Fultz getting a start. Plays J.J. Redick, and he is in there to begin this second quarter, where the Sixer defense has been downright suffocating on their visitors from down under. Sixers right now running Jerry Bayless for the first time. With Markelle Fultz. Well, I'm not sure that Casper Ware called it, but it'll count as badly needed points for the visitors.
Casper at first, of course, making a name for himself at Long Beach. He's mentioned it. Nice run in the NCAA tournament for Mr. Ware and his teammates.
Well, there you see the double team by Ware, and that's going to be key for Joel Embiid this year, how he recognizes that double team, and this is Ware over the outstretched arm of Embiid.
Maybe the banks are open a little later there in Australia. Nice little kiss off the glass.
Oh, it's already Saturday, so I guess they're open on the weekend.
There you go.
By the way, Australia is bracing for a very important event. It is the Australian Football League Grand Final. It's their Super Bowl.
Wow.
It'll be at 12:30 in the morning our time on Saturday. Australian rules football. I was online today just taking a look at it. What a very entertaining sport, as Bayless missing the lob inside, and already he's hearing it from the crowd at Wells Fargo Center.
Garrett trying to find some minutes for himself this season. Trying desperately with a tight rotation. Times difficult to get himself out there.
Fultz that time, dribbling into trouble, had it stolen away. Ware, who will take his share of shots.
Okay.
And Melbourne will get it back.
Looking like a little fatigue is setting in. You can see guys grabbing their knees, grabbing their shorts right away. I know you're thinking at home, it's only 10 minutes and 20 seconds into the third period. How can he be tired? Or first period, second period, excuse me. How can he be tired? Well, listen, they're not used to going up and down. They're not used to going up and down in a game situation. Nothing like a game situation.
And the Sixers had planned a game situation, their blue versus white intra-squad scrimmage, but it had to be postponed a couple of nights ago. Molested because of unplayable conditions. That is Fultz. What do you think of his form on his shot?
Well, the thing I like is I'm not seeing much hesitance. And I'm seeing basically a fluid release. Even if I'm not worried about the result, I'm worried about how it looks in his reaction afterwards. He seems confident, more confident than last year.
Dario Saric in, replacing Muscala. Big trade, Atlanta acquiring Carmelo Anthony. They eventually waived him, and Dennis Schroeder eventually leaving the Atlanta Hawks. That was long rumored, and as part of that deal, Justin Anderson went to Atlanta, and T.B. Taylor-Cabarrot went to Oklahoma City, and that's how the Sixers got Muscala. And that time, Fultz unable to finish, but having his back that time is Bayless.
Jared cleaning up the dirty work. Perhaps Markelle would be better served catching that, bringing it down, and then going back up again instead of trying to catch and finish all at once in midair.
Now let's bring in Serena Winters. Serena.
Got an update for you guys. Wilson Chandler, a left hamstring strain. He will not return to tonight's game.
Okay, so the 11th-year pro out of DePaul was acquired from Denver for cash after 7.5 years with the Nuggets, and he is expected to fill an important role for the Sixers off the bench, now with a left hamstring strain.
Coming into the season, we talked about it, Mark. There's a few things. What are we looking for this season? Well, the thing I'm most interested in, after coming back from last year with the best numbers-wise starting five in the league, how is the second unit going to fare? It's got a different look now, different moving parts. It's got a little bit bigger. How will they be on both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively?
Yeah, it's totally different. Amir Johnson's back. T.J. McConnell's back. We haven't seen him, but Wilson Chandler, he's new. Mike Muscala, he's new. And if tonight's alteration goes into the regular season, J.J. Redick will be part of that group as well. But the Sixers, they went star hunting, and that was announced by Brett Brown when free agency started. And clearly they had their targets in mind. They didn't come up with any of those guys. There was certainly a lot of talk, a lot of trade talk and what have you. But I'll tell you what, I like the end result. I like the fact that a young team that won 52 games and went 2 rounds of the playoffs is basically intact.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we talked about it. You've got the best starting five statistically, so there's not a lot to tinker with. You're just trying to add little adjustments, if you will, that improve your team overall. That's the challenge now of a team that was successful last year and wants to be even more successful. There's not a lot of room for improvement, so you have to make those incremental steps and improvement, because those are huge when we're talking about small little differences between one team or another.
Right. I always say going from 20 to 30 wins is easier than 30 to 40 and so forth and so on up the ladder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those small steps are huge in the grand scheme of things.
Ben Simmons is back. Joel Embiid in this game, living where Brett Brown would like to see him live, at the line.
And if you're Joel, I mean, there is nothing wrong. There's nothing negative about going to the free throw line. Catch your breath. Because when you're tired, that all of a sudden gives you a little extra boost. You get to have 10, 15 seconds to catch your breath. And then no defense. It's called a free throw for that purpose. So you really can't ask for much more as far as a great scenario to be in.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's not something I thought too often about getting a rest. The one thing I do know that free throws present the advantage for, and that is when the other team is on the run, you can get yourself to the line and hopefully stop the run that way.
Yeah, and how about just a simple, get the other team's best player in foul trouble. So now he has to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
That's the best defense right there. Get him out of the game.
By the way, this Melbourne United team, they took a punch early. The Sixers were off to a terrific start, but they managed to hang around. And we remind people that last year they played a preseason game in Oklahoma City. The Thunder playing their starters a lot of minutes in that game as Simmons continues his gorgeous passing here in the first half. Anyway, back to last year, the Thunder barely escaped with a victory in that game.
It's a close ball game. And what's interesting there was they played a little bit of an illegal zone defense. I guess you can do that using the FIBA rules. I'm not quite sure, but nonetheless, they got away with it for a little bit. You can hear Ben screaming, trying to point out the illegal help side. Nonetheless, Ben catches it and finds Jarrett for an easy 2.
And now you bring up an interesting point as Embiid launches and hits the 3. Embiid at 31% from beyond last year. Got off to a slow start. Was much better in the second half of the year. But again, back to the NBL where Melbourne United plays. They play FIBA rules.
Taking the ball out of bounds on the side.
Yep.
We are running off of makes. All of that stuff completely different here. So they're the team adjusting right now.
Yeah, and the three-point line is over 1.5 feet closer.
Yep.
Be a travel on Simmons.
You mentioned some of the movement in the offseason. One of the ones that really intrigues me, I'll tell you about it when we come back.
I hope
the
so.
Backcourt situation in Oklahoma City. Stay tuned.
Kennedy and Mitch McCarron both back in for Melbourne. JJ.
20, if you want one of these, you get to the center and you see a Delaware Bluecoats game. How did this all come about, Chris?
You know what? The Bluecoats are part of the family, and we are bringing them here to the center November 20th, and every fan's going to get a authentic and unique Joel bobblehead.
In this arena right now, I know it's preseason, but it's starting to feel like there is an energy around this fan base. You know the pulse of the fans. What are you feeling for this year?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. I mean, we are so excited. It's like the playoffs never ended. It's picking up again. We're must-watch TV, that's for sure.
You know what else is exciting? The Delaware Bluecoats also have a brand new facility opening up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's going to be coming in the first week of January. State-of-the-art facility, best in the G League, and it's only 26 miles down the road in Wilmington, Delaware.
Love it. Well, first 10,000 fans here at the center, November 20th. This is what you're getting. Back to you, Mark.
All right, we thank you so much, Serena and Chris Heck, president of the 76ers, for joining us.
I've got my finger on whatever Chris Pulse is always up to. Follow him on Twitter. We take a look at, there's the bobblehead again. But Sixers fans out there, take my word for it. Follow Chris Heck on Twitter because he gives you the latest Sixer gear that drops. Take a look at JoJo and Joel.
Who is who?
Yeah. Looking for JJ there. Nice screen for Amir. Good look.
And of course, it didn't end up in a basket, but Redick averaged 3 assists last year, and a lot of them came off of those pin downs, so to speak. That's what the coaches call them, where he runs off the screen like that and ends up hitting somebody for a field goal.
And his teammates are convinced that he's a good passer because you can see they don't stand and watch. They move while he has the ball in his hand.
We have a loose ball foul here on Melbourne.
It's a little frustration setting in on 2-5. He knows that that was an easy one there, and he's got to make those, take advantage of those opportunities because they're going to be there all season long.
By the way, I'm saying Melbourne. It's kind of the anglicized version, but a true Australian would say Melbourne.
Melbourne. Sort of like Toronto. You don't say that second T. It's Toronto. trying to be an honorary Aussie?
Oh, well, no, I think what I'm trying to do is acknowledge some folks who I know are saying, you know what, it's not Melbourne, Florida.
Got it. No,
It's
you're right.
Melbourne. It's Melbourne, Australia, but we tend to anglicize it, I guess.
I'm going to have to ask MP Tim Watts, one of the elected officials in Australia. We are Twitter friends together. I'm going to have to ask him exactly how he pronounces Melbourne.
The Chicago Bulls come to Philadelphia for the Sixers home opener presented by Independence Blue Cross. That'll be on Thursday, October 18th. It's an 8 o'clock tip. All fans in attendance get a co-branded Sixer t-shirt courtesy of Independence Blue Cross. StubHub.com for ticket information. Alex Pledger, the starting center. Displayed a nice soft touch early on. Actually won a title with the current Melbourne United head coach Dean Vickerman, playing for the NBL club out of New Zealand, New Zealand Breakers. By the way, that league expected to add a 9th team, and we hope to have the GM of that new club sometime in the second half to join us for our broadcast, talk about professional basketball in Australia. We're hearing about the impact of Ben Simmons in his native land.
I'd be curious to see how Ben compares to his influence, how it compares to a Dellavedova, a Joe Ingles. Now, it's not a competition. I just want to, those guys are entrenched in the league for a while now. Ben is just new to the game. So I'm curious to see whether or not Ben's unique in his own space or he's just a culmination of the other guys who've had success from the land down under. Good look.
Yeah, by Charge inside for Simmons. Second time unable to finish a dunk attempt. Dario Saric.
Ben, you can't let that frustrate you right now because you shouldn't be thinking about the last one. You're thinking about the next one. Barlow with the little hit shot.
Yeah, it's a guy you can't leave open. Mentioned earlier, Bears repeating at 37 in a league game. He was a perfect 14 for 14 from the floor and hit all 8 of his three-point attempts. Again, that's the 22-foot 1-inch line as opposed to 23.9 in the NBA.
Ignore him at your peril.
Moving screen there on Saric.
You can see, though, Roberts' intention, whether it was as earlier going one-on-one and trying to beat his man off, that time using the pick-and-roll formation to, again, penetrate. Just didn't work. Dario got it caught up.
Mitch McCarron now quarterbacking Melbourne United, former Division II college player. And that's going to be a foul on J.J. Redick.
I was just about to compliment him and say how hard and he was fighting through those screens and what a good job he was doing. It's got to be frustrating for him, too, because he knows about the amount of work he just put in that exchange, and then the little cheapie bails out his opponents.
Did you read where J.J. said he would coach, and he would coach at Duke if he was asked? Well, your reaction, former Blue Devil yourself.
First of all, you're assuming I read, which is your first mistake. Second of all, listen, I know for a fact as we see Melbourne get to the rim there, I know for a fact Coach K the last 5 to 7 years has really loved having former Duke players on his staff as assistants. So I would imagine JJ would be readily welcomed. JoJo would easy too.
And it didn't sound like JJ was aspiring to be a coach. It was simply a question that was posed to him, and it sounded like he would only coach at Duke. Again, that's my inference. It's not something that he necessarily says.
Well, listen, judging by the reaction he got as a player in other arenas, I wouldn't want to coach anywhere else either.
Thank you for joining us tonight on NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus. The Sixers and Melbourne United, Melbourne United, if you're a native of Australia. As the Sixers turn it over out of the timeout, and then Simmons looking to tie up DJ Kennedy, and a jump ball will ensue.
Take a look at that last exchange again. See players getting tangled up. Ben trying to break free.
All cotton for J.J. Redick.
Well, listen, usually inexperienced players let their shot get them back in the ball game, but I think we can both agree J.J.'s played some good defense before hitting his first convincing shot.
Again, Redick coming off the bench. Markelle Fultz getting the start. Redick looked pretty good. If he's attempting a three, and I believe he was, it'll be 3 at the line for Redick, the very good free throw shooter.
One more thing about Brett Brown's decision in the rotation in regards to J.J. When you're around as long as he has and you're all about winning and trying to do whatever you can, like we saw him try to contribute last year, the bottom line is you want to finish the ball game. You don't want to start the ball game. The most important, in close ball games, I always took it as a former player as a huge compliment that my coach wanted me out there when the game was on the line. To me, it's much more important to finish a ball game than it is to have your name called and be one of the starters.
Well, Alex Pledger, the starting center for Melbourne, bleeding, and that's the reason for the delay. We invite you to join us at halftime. We'll analyze the first half. We'll have a feature on Brett Brown during his time with the Sydney Kings, coaching that NBL team. So here's J.J. Redick, shot 90% from the line last year. The 7th time in his 13-year NBA career he has shot 90% or better from the stripe. You know, we talked about the fact that he averaged over 17 a game for the regular season. That was a career high for him. He upped it to over 18 a game in the playoffs.
And let's just put that in context. Not only is he in the latter stages of his career, and he seems to be getting stronger, because shooting is all about legs, Mark. And if you don't have your legs, I don't care how good your form is, shot's not going in. And then to be getting stronger as the season goes on as well, that's just a testament to him taking care of his body, the way he pays attention to detail, and his desire.
Is maniacal a good description?
It works for him.
Off-court work ethic, yeah.
A little high-low there, leaving Pledger alone.
Yeah, and he had a mismatch there, and he held his own with DJ Kennedy, and Embiid came over to help out defensively as well, as he should.
Got to shoot that if you're Pledger. Got to keep defenses honest. Got away with a foul there.
Yeah, and Embiid, that ball rolling awkwardly off his fingertips. That time Fultz was pinned down by DJ Kennedy, and he fouled him. More than a minute to go here in the first half.
Easy partner trying to get that initial post up, caught Markelle off guard by surprise. All he could do was foul.
This game, by the way, the first of 7 games the NBA is hosting in preseason against 5 different Australian Basketball League teams. And as you mentioned earlier, a week from tonight, this Melbourne team will be in Toronto to take on the Raptors. Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors.
Got to get used to saying that.
Screen coming, Cats, go.
Embiid, there's the double team. Redick, it's for 3. So well done by Joel, but Redick unable to can it.
Good idea with that DHO, the dribble handoff. JJ just unable to hit it, but those quick hitters, another sign of the innovation in Brett Brown's offense. Fun to watch.
Good defense by Embiid. Sixers nearly came up with a turnover. Now Embiid scrambling back. Wow. gets the block, ultimately a shot clock violation, and he smothers Chris Goulding in the process.
Goulding grabbing that knee, not a good look. You know how important he is to this team. You certainly hope he's all right. Just hope they bang knees, that's all. That play again, and you can see, now, did he bang knees with Joel, or did he hit the floor with his knee?
Whatever, he is being helped off the floor.
A bump you can handle. Something more complicated, that's what you hope against.
Right. And Goulding right now is limping his way to his team's locker room. And he led the NBL in scoring last year. Played for Australia's national team in the 2016 Rio Olympics. Shot clock here is on clock. Sixers will hold for one in command as the first half of his first preseason game comes to a close. Fultz, chance to do his thing. He ends up turning it over. Still plenty of time here for United. Unable to cash in, and that'll do it. Sixers head to the locker room leading by 14 over Melbourne United. It's the Sixers 56, Melbourne United 42. Join us, won't you? Our halftime show coming up right after this. Also, the owner of the entire NBL, Larry Castleman. You have to explain to me how you can own the entire league and also be a part owner of a particular franchise.
Well, it started with a club. It was Melbourne Tigers and then became Melbourne United and then transitioned into working with the league. So first club, then league.
So if you own the entire league and there aren't individual owners of franchises, then is that right?
No, there are. So each team is owned by a different, either individual or corporation, and I own the actual league rights, and we run the National League.
So each team does operate as an independent entity.
Correct.
What did you think of the first half, by the way?
I thought it was amazing. Look, you guys have a team to be super proud of, extraordinary athletes. So loved it, and we're putting up a fight. We're fighting hard. That's what we do.
Well, Larry, this is obviously not something that's going to count to your record. This is an off-the-books game, if you will, outside the continent. Nonetheless, what is the league and this team, Melbourne United, trying to get out of this trip to the United States?
Now, for us, this is about growing the league and awareness globally about what we do. Australia is a long way away from everywhere. And I think by us promoting our game and what we do there, we're spreading the word. We have 10 players in your NBA, and that's something we're super proud of. So we're getting people to know about Australia through playing in the NBA, and this is a great opportunity for our players from our league to come and compete against the best.
It's only a shame you couldn't keep Ben Simmons at home.
Oh, I feel like this is a bit unfair. If you maybe gave us a couple of the Aussies on our side, we'd have a chance.
What kind of source of pride is it? You mentioned some of the Australian players in the NBA now, 10 total. Joe Ingles comes to mind, one of my favorite, a heady ball player. But what kind of pride is that for the whole entire nation, knowing that now, as time has gone on, you've got your elite players coming from Australia playing in the NBA?
Basketball is so big in Australia. We've got 1.1 million kids playing the game, so it is extraordinarily popular. We have a wonderful grassroots program, and we produce great players, and we want to give them a pathway through our league to come and play on the big stage here. We certainly are under no illusion that this is the big stage, and we want as many of our Aussies to make it here.
Larry Kesselman is the owner of the NBL, the National Basketball League, the Professional League of Australia, and also a part owner of the team you're watching tonight, Melbourne United. How big is Ben Simmons in Australia?
He is huge. We love him. He's our pride and joy. He's a Melbourne boy. So talking to Scott from your team, we decided that we want to form a closer partnership and do more and more. We couldn't be more proud of him. His dad actually played for this team. So he played for the Melbourne Tigers, who are now Melbourne United. So the pride is there.
Now, you changed, I want to just interrupt for a second, I hope you don't mind. You changed the name for a particular reason. It had to do with Victoria in general. Please explain that.
So the league itself has gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, and we've had a lot of clubs come and go in Victoria, which is the state that Melbourne is in. Melbourne Tigers was one of those clubs that I part-owned and sponsored and supported, and we were the last club standing. But we felt that we need to represent all of the basketball players in that state. So hence the United name. We wanted to unite all of the basketball players under this banner, and it's been fantastic.
Talk to us a little bit about not just the goals on the court, but some of the stuff you're trying to get off the court. Obviously, some notoriety, recognition, but using this trip to benefit your league and your individual players off the court. What's been your approach to that?
You want your fans to actually recognize how good the product is in Australia. NBA is just so far above anywhere else in the world. We want to come here and see where we fit into the picture. And for us, winning, of course, as professionals, that's what you always want to do. But being realistic, we want to show our brand of basketball, how we compete and make our country proud, and let the players also have the experience. This for them is a dream.
Larry Kesselman, our guest, the owner of the NBL and a part owner of Melbourne United. And we caught a glimpse, Larry, a few moments ago of Dean Vickerman, now the head coach. He brought him in last year and he won a title in his first season. And a former, I guess you might say, student of Brett Brown, now the Sixers head coach. How big has Brett's shadow been, so to speak, his coaching tree in Australia?
Well, we sort of almost treat him as Australian. He's married to an Australian. He comes back. He's coached at all levels in Australia, so I know he's technically not, but the same way as you guys are maybe taking a bit of ownership of Ben, we feel that we own a little bit of Brett.
Tell us a little bit about where basketball fits in as a sport in your country. Because we know about Australian rules football, we know about rugby, we know about all the other sports, but it seemed like basketball is the newest one on the horizon, so to speak. In the grand scheme of things, where does it fit in?
So we play in the summer. AFL, which is our probably most popular sport, it actually is the most popular sport, plays in the winter. So we want to own the summer and our product, and we have unashamedly been working closely with the NBA to look at what is the best practice of creating a product of entertainment. That's what we have. We have very similar game day, cheerleaders, fireworks, entertainment. People come and get entertained. So we want to be the best product of that.
Point of play, by the way, by Markel Fultz, have to mention, on DJ Kennedy. And it bears repeating here on our replay. Quite a chase down block by Markel. He did it on DJ Kennedy, a Pittsburgh native, Larry, and you do allow a certain amount of non-Australians per club. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we allow 3 imports. In a lot of cases, they are Americans. We feel that if we bring in the best players that potentially either can't make the NBA or trying to make the NBA or finishing their careers in the NBA, that actually makes our players better. So it's a strategic move to keep improving our local talent.
8 teams, soon to be 9. How many games in a regular season and then the playoffs? What does all of that look like as far as game output?
So we play 28 games in the regular season, 14 home, 14 away, and then we play best of 3 semi-final and best of 5 final over a 6-month period.
And Melbourne, Larry, is one of 5 teams currently on this preseason tour of the NBA. How much of that is NBA initiated and how much of that is NBL initiated?
It's definitely initiated by us originally, but we've had to build trust. We've had to build the understanding of what it is that we do as a league. People like Adam Silver, in particular Mark Tatum, have been huge supporters. Their goal is to grow the game all over the world. It's not just about US and NBA, and they see us as a big part of it. Australians love the NBA, and we're rewarded by getting a chance to do this. So we are very grateful and very proud.
In conversation with Larry Kesselman of the NBL. And tonight's opponent, Melbourne United. We'll have more right after this. Stay with us. Australian invasion, as we have 5 different clubs, 5 of the 8 from the NBL, the professional league in Australia, currently touring and playing NBA teams in the preseason. And with us to talk more about that and some other subjects, the owner of the NBL, the National Basketball League, and a part owner of tonight's opponent, Melbourne United, Larry Kesselman. What does it take to pull all that together? That seems like quite a task, logistically speaking, to have 5 teams touring in the preseason.
You have to go in with the attitude that we're just going to make it happen. It is definitely not easy. It's our pre-season as well, so most of the teams fly back and we start our season a few days later, so it's challenging, but you don't say no to these type of opportunities. If NBA and the teams say come, we're on the road and we're coming.
Give me a little taste of the difference between Aussies and Americans. Obviously, basketball is basketball, but there are certain characteristic personality traits. What makes Australian basketball a little different than American basketball, besides the level of athletic ability and talent? What down at the fundamental level is different?
I think we probably play the game a little tougher. We take no backward step. The defense is something that we're pretty aggressive about. We play the game very, very close. It's very much a team game as well. So no doubt the athletes that are here are at the top of the tree. So if you don't quite have those athletes, you end up finding other ways to compete. And we're competing. Like there's 14 points in the game. Unfortunately, our best player, Chris Goulding, looks like he's not going to probably play for the rest of the game. But we compete. We fight and we fight. That's what we do.
No, you've conducted yourselves admirably here. Like you said, it's a 14-point ball game. Playing different rules, playing in a different building on a different continent, a lot going against you, and yet you're still in it.
That's what we do. I can see the guys fighting. They will not take a backward step, and we want to make Australia proud. There's a lot of people watching these games. They're following the league, they're following their teams, so the guys are loving the opportunity. So again, very, very happy to be here.
And Australia currently has 2 handfuls of players who are playing and not just riding the bench, but making an impact in many ways starting. They've won rings here in the NBA. A nice list of Australians currently playing in the NBA.
Yeah, there's I think as many as 12 now that are officially playing in the NBA, and you're absolutely right. They're doing us very proud. We've just had one come back in Andrew Bogut playing for Sydney, so we want to make sure that this league is also somewhere where the players can come back and when they're done in the NBA, and we want them to have as long a career as possible. But we want the NBL to be a home for them to return to and play in front of their families and fans.
In fact, you just gave me a piece of trivia. Speaking of Andrew Bogut, it was a top pick. You were talking about what city has the most, #1 picks?
Yeah, I think it's in the last 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. Melbourne's actually the city with the most #1 picks, and I think viewers, they can double check it and probably win a couple of bets at the pub where the most #1 picks have been, I think in the last 15 years.
I heard pub. What?
Yep.
Well, speaking of pub, I understand that some of the Australian coaches who I've befriended who are in town are going to find a pub tonight, and 12:30 in the morning Saturday are going to be watching. You mentioned Australian rules football, the Australian Football League Grand Final, which is the equivalent of your Super Bowl, is being played, and they'll have to stay up. Are you going to be there from 12:30 to 3:30 in the morning?
Absolutely. So we're here actually with a huge contingent of friends and family. I've got my son here, Justin, and my 83-year-old mother as well. There's a group of 100 people, and quite a few of us are going to go. It's called the Australia Pub back in New York. We're hopping on a bus and going and watching the game at 12:30.
Now,
wow.
Just educate us a little bit. The teams in it, and obviously your team is one of them.
No.
You're just rooting for it as a bystander.
It's a cultural thing to do.
Wow.
If you're an Australian, you're watching, well, the Super Bowl. Your team doesn't have to be in it, so you're the same. So we have a team called Collingwood, which is a team based in Melbourne. You either love or hate Collingwood. I'm not sure what your version of that is in the NFL.
The Raiders.
The Raiders. There you go. So being a Victorian, we'll be going for Collingwood, even though it's not my team. And they're playing the team from Perth called the West Coast Eagles.
Okay.
So it's a rivalry from one side of Australia to the next.
I hope it's everything you want it to be.
Larry, here in the United States, we have schools to develop players, an AAU program, of course, and a number of different options. How does Australia develop its players?
So the grassroots from young age through to probably the age of 17 is a very, very good program. We have a lot of kids playing, a lot of facilities, and well coached. We do have a gap from that age through to once they become professional. So a lot of our kids actually come out and play in colleges in the US, like St. Mary's in particular has been a very, very popular one. But they do come and play here. We do have a secondary league, but I don't know that it's quite at the standard we want it to be. So that's a work in progress, and we want to build a development league similar to what you have. and make sure there's a better pathway for the kids.
Larry Kesselman, the owner of the NBL and a part owner of Melbourne United. We wish you all the best going forward. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it.
Our thanks once again to Larry Kesselman, the owner of the National Basketball League, which I found rather interesting that one person owns an entire circuit and a part owner of this team as well.
We're more laid back than we are.
Yeah.
Get all tied up. Things like conflict of interest come out. You're Australian. They don't care about that stuff. Play ball.
Mike Muscala, that's what he can do, and do it he did.
I've said it time and time again. I caught his last game in college. Mike Muscala happened to be against Lehigh in their conference tournament.
C.J. McCollum, right?
Exactly. And to see the transformation that Mike has made in his body, where he had a hard time in college changing ends, a little methodical with his footwork, and now he is sleek, he's svelte, his BMI, body mass index, has gotten a lot better. He's worked his body to be as good as he's become. Kudos to him.
By the way, the only Bucknell player in that school's history to make it into the NBA. Bucknell about 3 hours northwest of Philly and Lewisburg. Lewisburg.
That's where the game was, as a matter of fact.
I once did a game there when I was doing Princeton basketball. I went to Lewistown by accident.
Oh my.
Serena Winters, what do you got?
You know, Chris Golding, who is a big part of this Melbourne United team, he is out for the game with a left ankle injury after he saw him collide there with Joel Embiid, hit the floor pretty hard. Hope he's going to be all right.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. Certainly Melbourne does. If for any reason, the fact that he was the leading scorer in the league last year. Serena, we thank you for the update.
Walked off gingerly, but he did walk off. We've seen guys in worse situations unable to do that, so we wish him the best.
Hitting that three was Craig Muller. Before that, Sixers had their largest lead in the game. J.J. Redick coming off the bench tonight, but showing fine form.
Handoff again, the quick hitter. Not Joel. This time it was Amir Johnson, second unit right now, clicking offensively.
Amir last year, by far, the leader in what we call screen assists. In other words, you're screening and the guy gets an assist off that screen. We're talking about in terms of minutes per game. Joel Embiid had a few more than him, but Amir played about, what, less than half the minutes that Embiid played per game.
And it shows you his point of emphasis, his focus when he's out there. It ain't about him. It's about everybody else and trying to facilitate their offense. See him talking to his teammates there, switching with Markelle Fultz. And, you know, that last line of defense can see everything from his vantage point out on the floor.
It's great having him back.
Huge piece to that second unit, both ends.
Muscala that time was denied. And that's Ware hitting the three. A little more than 2 minutes to go here in the third. Melbourne, and every once in a while I'll throw in a Melbourne because
Just give the people what they want.
yeah, they do. Right. We've anglicized it to Melbourne, but it is Melbourne United.
I don't know where you get off pronouncing every letter. Good to see Casper out there.
Yeah.
Older heads like us who love the game. See a guy like him still hanging on, still doing his thing. All good in the world.
Again, he had a couple of 10 days. Brett Brown's first year, that was 2013-14. I remember a play. Sixers were playing the Houston Rockets, and against James Harden, Casper Ware at the end of the first quarter stripped him in half court, and with precious few moments left on the clock, pulled up and hit a three.
Really?
Yeah.
So took his
You're talking
lunch
about
money and
the
hit
guy
a
is
three.
the MVP now, right?
Yeah. That's no small feat.
Right. Club 76, the official season ticket waiting list of the 76ers. Priority access for season tickets in 2019-20. Exclusive 76er gear, access to special ticket offers, and more. For more information, Sixers.com/join Club 76. You could also email club76@76ers.com, or finally the phone number 215-339-7676.
Markelle looking good on those free throws. Nice soft release, elbow underneath the wrist.
I think the only issue for Markelle tonight, maybe one or two too many turnovers, but other than that, he's looked solid.
Yeah, and those turnovers came upon him trying to be aggressive and forcing the issue. He'll make better decisions, as opposed to tonight where he dribbled into a couple of defenders and then was unable to get rid of the basketball and led to a turnover. Those will get better. He'll get better at those.
And they cheer loudly and strongly for that. Markelle Fultz, without hesitation, hitting the much discussed, much debated jump shot.
If you want a quick synopsis of his game and his jumper, from about 14 in, he's pretty good. Obviously still working on it. As you take a look at him getting right to that elbow, he's going to see a lot of that in Brett Brown's offense. Squared up shoulders, able to knock it down.
And it looked good.
It did. Looked confident. And you can tell, again, you've been around me a while now, Mark. Body language is a big deal to me. It's indicative of where your state of mind is. Right now, he looks confident. Nice.
Oh, what a play. Fultz with the touch pass to Muscala, who got the easy deuce. I'll tell you what, a Fultz-Simmons combination with the way those guys pass.
Scary.
Yep.
And if you're Mike Muscala, that just encourages you to run more. Because right there, Markelle could have kept it himself, but he gave it to you because he saw you fill in the lane. That makes you run next time down the floor, too.
Yeah. Boy, the fans are into it. Fultz has the ball, and they're pumped up. Fultz again.
It's okay. That's okay. Shoot him. You got to ask yourself a little bit, too. If that was short. Is he getting a little bit tired? That closeout looked a little late. Might be getting tired.
Markelle Fultz getting a start. It's a brilliant play here. One of the many reasons the Sixers are up 17 over the visitors after 3. Well, with Serena Winters and Ala Abdelnaby. Marks him off tonight here on NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus, and with a 17-point lead now heading into the fourth quarter. Brett Brown has gone deeply to the bench. We see T.J. McConnell for the first time. Mike Muscala's come back. Number 43, the native of Australia, Jonah Bolden, tried to hold on to it there. Number 43, sixth pick in the second round by the Sixers in 2017, but played professionally last year in Israel. Number 23, Landry Shamet, rookie out of Wichita State. 26th of 30 first-round picks by the Sixers last summer. He is in. And a look at him. And again, the first action for T.J. McConnell. Furkan Korkmaz, second-year player from Turkey, number 30. Very good shooter. As this collection here is running out of shot clock, and the shot clock violation don't count it. Turnover on the Sixers.
Be patient with this unit. 5 guys who have not played with each other, maybe gone up and down a little bit in practice as a unit. You can see the lack of chemistry showing its face early on in this fourth period.
Now the hulking center Alex Pledger does not have Joel Embiid nor Amir Johnson to deal with. It is Mike Muscala, and good defense there by Muscala. And we have a whistle and an offensive foul being called. Well done by Muscala, who, depending on the situation, might be called on to play some center this year.
Brett Brown pleasantly surprised by his mobility and agility. Sees him in more scenarios where he's usable than prior to just picking him in the summer.
And again, another new Sixer brought in to make a contribution off the bench. The veteran Wilson Chandler, playing a left hamstring strain. He did make a cameo in the first half.
Barlow again. Barlow with the three. You watch him in warm-ups, and you're like, how is he possibly going to ever get that off against a good defender? Well, they do a good job of spacing. They swing the ball around, and when he catches it, he is ready to shoot. There is no hesitation.
Fletcher, the center, displayed earlier, and right there, pretty good touch from the outside. T.J. McConnell started Game 4 of the Boston Celtics second-round playoff series, the only game won by the Sixers in that series. And that's something the Sixers would like to see more of from the 6'10", 220-pound rookie from Australia, Jonah Bolden.
You mentioned TJ's success in their only win in the playoff series. It was a regular season game later on in the year where TJ played well coming off the bench in Boston. And I think that gave Brett Brown some confidence, having seen him have success against that same team early on in the year.
Henry Shamit, who went from playing off guard to point guard in his time with Wichita State. Sprained an ankle in summer league, but he is A-OK and learning under the tutelage of J.J. Redick.
Played for Greg Marshall, North Carolina native, doing great things in Wichita for the Shockers. That has become, outside of Kansas and Bill Self, the second elite school in the state of Kansas.
Yeah, they've had some good teams, haven't they?
Yep, and I apologize to all those Kansas State Wildcats, but I put the Wichita State team first.
76ers basketball is being brought to you tonight by the Kia Optima, official vehicle of the NBA. National Basketball League starting its 41st season on October 11th. As we mentioned earlier, 5 of the 8 teams currently touring the United States, playing preseason games against NBA competition. Dean Vickerman, head coach, once played under then assistant coach Brett Brown as they ran it again for Golden. By the way, before Vickerman, as that'll be a traveling violation, the head coach of Melbourne United was Dean Demopoulos. Dean, a former longtime assistant coach at Temple, Westchester grad, native of Philly.
And very good friends with the Sixers shooting coach, John Townsend.
See, everybody's connected in some way.
Like I said, it's a really small world. Not only is the basketball world small, but the world itself.
Yeah.
Whether it's because of internet, social media, whatever the case, now everything is covered. And that's good.
In fact, speaking of assistant coaches, the Sixers have made some changes on their staff.
A couple new faces, a couple familiar faces changing, sliding over a seat or two on Brett Brown's bench. We've got, of course, Monty Williams, new addition. Not new to the Brett Brown family, of course. He's coming from San Antonio. And then the thing I find most interesting as far as coaching assignments, Billy Lang now takes over from Lloyd Pierce, and Billy's in charge of the defense.
Lloyd Pierce starting the domino effect, which necessitated the changes in the staff by becoming the head coach with the Atlanta Hawks. Kevin Young, he's going to be a head coach one day. John Bryant moving up from the St. Joe's product.
Excellent staff.
Yep.
Hard working, know the game. Devoted to their players and improving their game.
And Brett Brown gives them all a voice at practice and shoot-arounds.
Good at delegating. He's also got qualified assistants too. It's easy to delegate when you're handing it off to qualified people.
No doubt. Get good people, let them do their thing.
High low there. Muscala looking for Jonah Bolden. Another look at Monty Williams.
One-time head coach in the NBA. In fact, one time played with the Sixers. That was back when Larry Brown was the head coach. And in fact, Coach Brown is now coaching in Serie A in Italy.
I saw that. And interesting thing about Monty is people forget he was on Coach K's Olympic teams as an assistant coach. One of the NBA representatives, along with Nate McMillan Of course, Jim Boeheim was on that staff as well. Coach K raved about Monty and his knowledge of the game.
In fact, he played the game. I remember watching him as a player thinking, here's a guy who plays the game in a way that leads you to believe he's going to be a coach one day.
Quality guy, high character. Take a look at the defensive mastermind this year, Billy Lang, on the right of your screen.
Time head coach at Navy.
It's interesting, too, because when you talk to Joel Embiid and you say, well, what about the defense that Billy's putting in this year? He says, oh, we're still a work in progress. We've got so much to work on. And then you go down the hallway and you ask Ben, and Ben goes, it's basically the same stuff. I don't know what Joel's talking about. So I don't know who to believe. I think I'm going to have to confide in Billy and get the lowdown there.
But you know what? Maybe for Joel, big changes, because what they're trying to do, especially when they face, for example, the Boston Celtics and Al Horford, who can shoot from the outside. Now you have 5 guys ringing the perimeter, and you want Embiid back at the goal. So how do you make that work?
Yeah, the priority now is more rim protection.
Am I hearing move?
Yeah, I think so.
Muscala?
I think so. At least that's what I'm sticking with.
Muscala, that's a second block.
He's come a long way physically. Would not have been able to make that play years back. We can see quicker off the floor. Good anticipation. Nice long arm.
Corey Jefferson, again, he was just signed by this Melbourne United club. Played for Brooklyn, played a bit with Phoenix. Played at Baylor collegiately. We have a timeout on the floor. Nearly 5 minutes gone with the Sixers leading the visitors by 11 at Wells Fargo Center. Action as we turn things over now to Serena Winters. Serena.
Thanks, Mark. Time now for our Toyota turning point of the game. And for this game, we feature Markelle Fultz. And let me tell you that being in this arena right now, it felt like it got the loudest when we saw Markelle hit that jumper at the end of the third, which you're going to see here in a minute. And I think that's because the fans here have just been wondering, waiting to see whether or not all the work he's put in this summer has been paying off. It looks like it is. 14 points tonight, 4 assists, shooting 6 for 11 from the field. I got to tell you, it's good to see this kid as confident as he is tonight.
No doubt. Of course, Serena and I watched training camp as you did, Ala, and you were talking earlier about having, oh boy.
Oh man, you better watch out.
Welcome to Serena. And look, totally unflappable, right?
That's a pro.
Yeah.
Mischievous youngsters.
Yeah, he's only 20, right?
Okay.
Mike Muscala, we're going to hear move from the fans. It's going to spread like the wave.
I like it.
The crowd.
Keep him coming. He can be moved till the cows come home.
Did you mean to say that?
Yes. Nice front by TJ.
Yeah, no doubt. He's fronting a guy who's got him by 3 inches, and he stole it from him.
Textbook post defense. When a guard is having to cover a big, they always tell you to get in front of him and sit in his lap. That's exactly what TJ did.
Shannon, a nice job to identify the double team. See the plunging big man in Bolden, who will get rewarded with a couple of free throws. I was going to say earlier that Fultz in his 1 year at University of Washington averaged 23, 6 boards, 6 assists. He was the top pick. He was a great player at DeMatha High. I mean, this is a guy who has a terrific pedigree. And it was through his hard work that Serena mentioned over the summer that enabled him to recapture his mojo. And now he looks like the guy that everybody had hoped he would be when the Sixers took him with the top pick.
I think the only thing left to be seen and how he handles things moving forward is how does he handle a little adversity when it comes. Right now, still at the beginning of the year, they're not throwing him into the deep end of the pool just yet, but there will be some tough times. How does he push on through those? I think it will speak a lot about this young man's character, but we expect great things.
Fultz played the first 4 games last year. Then he had to sit out the 68 straight games with shoulder and shot issues. Finally returned. Told Brett Brown, I'm ready to play, but I don't want to hurt the team. And remember, on April 11th, the last game of the season, had that triple-double off the bench.
Watch the right arm by Ware as he looks to create a little bit of space. TJ making that same argument as well. Looked like he pushed off a little bit.
TJ McConnell, when Fultz came back, and this bears repeating, he was averaging 24 minutes a game, then went to the fringes of the rotation. And who was the first guy out on the floor to mob Fultz when he recorded that triple-double in the last game of the season? That guy.
It's because he's about the team. And no matter how hard you try, you're just not going to get TJ McConnell to all of a sudden become a selfish person or a selfish player. Raised by a coach who was his dad, of course. Played for one of his closest family friends, and Coach Sean Miller at Arizona after transferring from Duquesne. This is who he is.
And you get the sense that he is just part of what feels like an overall good chemistry with this team. They genuinely seem to like one another.
And I just can't see him now. Is he coveted by other teams? Absolutely. But I just can't see TJ going elsewhere for next to nothing. It's got to be pretty significant. TJ is an important part.
He is, by the way, a free agent after the season. Work on Korkmaz. Fans looking forward to this. Seeing him shoot the three. A terrific game in the Summer League. Dropped 40 points in a game. 40, including 8 threes.
That was in Vegas, I believe. The jumper was wet that night. He was feeling pretty good. See TJ McConnell again. We talk about the selflessness. He hands off that pass to Bolden and then goes over to Korkmaz and says, keep shooting it. I don't care if you missed it. Keep shooting it.
Join the revolution. The Delaware Bluecoats hosting their home opener right here at Wells Fargo Center on November 20th at 7 o'clock. And the first 10,000 fans at the gate get a limited edition Joel Embiid bobblehead. 302-504-7587 or visit Sixers.com/Bluecoats. We're building a beautiful brand new facility. They're going to play their games in Wilmington.
Don't mention the bobblehead unless you got one to give me.
Well, I had to mention it because I was told to mention it, but
beautiful.
You know what? I'll arrange to get one for you. How's that?
Hook your boy up, please. It's the little things, Mark.
I know. I gotta feed the big man, keep him happy.
Important now as the game is slowed down and still execute. You're still auditioning out there if you're in red, white, and blue.
Korkmaz buries the three. Said during media day, I would like to become a member of the regular rotation.
Keep working. I like the fact that he's aiming high, though. Rotation's pretty set. It take a monumentous effort to change Brett Brown's mind, but doesn't mean it can't happen.
Bolden, good job defending a much smaller player, and 6'2" Mitch McCarron. Korkmaz, always good to see a shooter put it on the floor.
Keep defenders off balance. We talked about Robert Covington and how that's the next step in his evolution. Seems like Furkan has that in his game already. Nice read, depending on where the defender was playing him.
Both Furkan Korkmaz and Dario Saric competing for their respective countries over the summer in FIBA World Cup qualifying. Back with more in a moment. See preseason for the 76ers. Keep track of your favorite NBA team now and all season long with our experts on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com, the home of the Sixers authentic fan. Sixers a solid preseason showing tonight. Starters and regular rotation players give it a rest after 3 quarters, and now Furkan Korkmaz, Andrew Shamet, T.J. McConnell, Jonah Bolden, and Mike Muscala being given an opportunity here to get a run in the 4th quarter. In case you're just joining us, playing a team tonight from Australia's professional league, the National Basketball League, the defending champions in that league, Melbourne United, or as they would say down under, Melbourne United.
Nice athletic catch by Jonah in transition. Had the option of putting it on the floor, elected not to do so. Caught it nice stride.
T.J. McConnell diving on the floor. Muscala as well. Look at McConnell looking for an outlet, and he found it. Is this the 4th game of the playoffs, or is it a preseason game? You tell me.
It's what McConnell does in practice, let alone regular games. What else would you expect from our point guard? Just all out of sorts there defensively, not really sure of what to do. He's still learning what's expected of him on that end of the floor.
Casper Ware hasn't been cheated tonight.
Well, listen, he's always been a talented ball player. The knock on him is he's just too small for the kind of point guard play that is played at this level right now. His jumper isn't that good that it keeps defenders honest, and he's quick, but not super quick anymore.
Yeah, and I think if you're that size, you have to be like Isaiah Thomas or somebody who's just tremendously potent.
Absolutely, you've got to have that physical advantage. And just now it seems like time is running across obstacles he can't overcome.
I'll tell you what, the Sixers starters, in fact the entire bench right now, here in the final moments of this game, standing. I mean, they are into it for these guys who are on the floor.
Well, they know how important it is for these guys, and they know they're the unsung guys on the team. Nice.
I mean, that to me is camaraderie.
And that's good. That's a great sign. Togetherness.
Yep.
Right now, if you think for a sec those guys standing in the corner are thinking about themselves right now, they're thinking about the other 5 out on the floor representing them. Take a look.
Brotherhood and lots of love. It's good to see.
When you're on a good team that a lot is expected of you, you're going in feeling pretty good.
Oh, T.J. McConnell nearly finished that off, and this game is now officially finished. Sixers beat Melbourne United tonight by 20. And Brett Brown now will meet and greet a guy who once played for him, Dean Vickerman. And as was mentioned to us any one of a number of times, many Australians consider Brett Brown one of their own, and he is shaking every one of the hands of all the Australian players, and in fact Ben Simmons, in fact it's kind of like the end of a Stanley Cup game where everybody's shaking hands.
Well, I'm sure he is admired and beloved down there. Brett Brown, local boy, even though he's a transplant local boy, comes abroad and has some success in the NBA at the highest level.
It is time now to present the Chevrolet player of the game. That would be Ben Simmons, who piled up 11 of those 14 assists before halftime. He was utterly brilliant. 8 points and 8 rebounds as well. For the Chevrolet player of the game, Ben Simmons. Daddy Dave Simmons once played for Brett Brown back in the day.
Well, you knew he coming into this ball game, his hometown team, he was going to be pumped up for this. This was an extra special night for Ben Simmons, and I think he was coming in with that approach, and he played like it.
Good to see Chris Goulding out on the floor after, as Serena Winters reported earlier, hurting an ankle after he was plastered on a play by Joel Embiid. Now let's go to Serena.
Thanks, Mark. Standing by now with Ben Simmons. And Ben, first game to start the preseason. Obviously, it happens to be against your hometown team. How good did it feel to show everybody, the fans out here, what you guys can do?
It was a lot of fun. You know, it's getting back into the court, getting a feel for the game again. You know, playing team basketball is what we do. So we had a lot of fun.
Well, getting a feel for the game again. Speaking of that, Markelle Fultz in the starting lineup with you. Brett Brown announced the change before the game. How was that, getting that with him?
It's easy to play with him. He plays the right way. He knows how to move the ball, and he can score. So, you know, I'm happy playing with him.
Well, Brett Brown told us he's got some high expectations for you this year. Gave us two things. One goal for you is that he wants you at the free throw line more. The other goal is he hopes you can make it to an all-defensive team this year. What do you think about those goals?
Spot on. That's what I'm working towards. You know, every day I'm in the gym trying to get better. It's going to take a while to get to where I really want to be, but that's how long greatness takes.
Spot on. Gotta love it from Ben Simmons. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you.
Serena, Ben, we thank you so much. That would be the Australian Rules Football League. Coming up, their championship.
Well, we saw Ben getting engaged in this ball game early, played with a bounce to his step, didn't he, Mark? And thought it set the tone.
By the way, that play was a...
It's clever.
Yeah.
Clever, thinking on his feet.
Again, our Chevrolet player of the game, Ben Simmons. 104-84 our final. Back with more in just a moment right here on NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus.